Somehow it's already May, so it's time to run down all the movies and shows I watched in the month of April. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going over all the movies and shows I watched this past month in April, which feels weird. It went by in the blink of an eye for me personally, and now that we're in the summer movie season pretty much, the next few months and basically the rest of the year is going to fly by. But before I go through everything I watched, be sure to hit that like button, comment down below your favorite movie and show that you watched in the month of April, and of course subscribe and hit that notification bell to help me reach my goal of 75,000 subscribers here on the channel. It'll mean a lot. Without further ado, I'm going to start with all the movies that I watched in the month of April. Go into my Letterboxd, which again, you can follow me on Letterboxd at Filmstock. My name, Chris Bowie, will pop up. And I didn't watch as many movies this month, to be honest. Like, March was a lot more like movie a day type of vibe. April, there were like almost week periods where I wouldn't watch a movie because I'm rewatching Stranger Things right now, or I'm watching other TV shows. And I was doing a little bit of traveling too, so I just didn't watch as many movies. I still did a good amount of rewatches though. But let's go to the first movie I watched in the month of April, the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Full review up above. I seem to be in the minority here. I didn't really care for this one. I gave it 2.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Didn't hate the movie, didn't think it was terrible. It just wasn't really my thing. I was like, oh, this feels a little bit like a lifeless movie that's trying to capitalize on the Nintendo property, and it sure as did, because it made $1 billion and it's still going, so more power to you, Nintendo, and that's a huge hit for Illumination. But the movie itself, not something I see myself watching ever again. It was surprisingly a pretty shallow and emotionless animated movie. There's a lot better ones out there. Then the next day I went and saw Air, the Ben Affleck film that had high praise. Like, I think it had a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes at one point. I didn't adore this movie like I wanted to either, and I have an out-of-theater reaction, but I'm a lot higher on the movie than when I originally saw it and posted that video, so I enjoyed this one. You know, I give it 4 out of 5. It's probably like around a 4.25 out of 5. I will definitely be rewatching this movie again when it comes out on digital at some point. I dug it, you know, I think that it's really well made. The direction, the performances, just the story itself engaged me because I enjoy like history lessons, and to me this was just a lot of insight into the Michael Jordan story, specifically how he came to sign with Nike over Adidas and Converse. So it was like a shoe war in the 80s. It was interesting, you know, I didn't adore the movie. To me, it's not the best sports movie out there. I know there's a ton of praise for it, but I do want to watch this one again with a new perspective, knowing what I'm getting myself into, and I think I'll enjoy it even more. Then on April 7th, I rewatched Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade. This was right around the time that they dropped the new trailer for Dial of Destiny, and I was like, I gotta watch these movies again. Plus, I did a Lego set with my girlfriend Cam while watching these movies, so it was like replaying a part of my childhood. It was just really sweet redoing that set, because I had a version of this Lego set. It's the Temple of the Golden Idol. I had it way back in the day. I got it for Christmas when I was like 10 or 11, and they re-released it, so I did that while watching Raiders and Last Crusade, and it was perfect. I couldn't have asked for a better night. So those are two of my favorites of all time, and I can't wait for Dial of Destiny. We're getting closer. It's next month. I just realized I can say that Indiana Jones 5 comes out next month. Technically, we're like 2 months away because it's the last day of June, but we are in the end game for the new Indiana Jones movie. I can't wait. Then I took a week off of watching movies. I don't know why. It just happens sometimes. And on April 14th and 15th, back-to-back days, I watched The Princess Diaries for the first time and The Princess Diaries 2 Royal Engagement. Now, I had seen parts of these movies on Disney Channel growing up, so I was familiar with the story, but I'd never like given it my full attention, so I counted them as first-time watches, and Cam, my girlfriend, wanted to show them to me, so I was like, let's watch them. I enjoyed the second one more than the first. They're both like 3.5 out of 5-star movies for me. Chris Pine in the second movie just makes it. He's great. Plus, John Rhys Davies, who plays Sala in, I almost just said Lord of the Rings. Sala in Indiana Jones, and Gimli in Lord of the Rings is kind of the antagonist of the movie, so it was really interesting. I like Julie Andrews and the chemistry she has with Anne Hathaway. There's some really sweet moments there, and you know, it's got the cliches from the genre that we've seen, but there's a lot of like sweet moments, so these are really solid movies. Then I didn't watch any movies during the week, the following week, because again, I'm just watching a lot of shows during the week itself right now, but on the weekend, I hung out with my friends, and we did a double feature, a comedy double feature, I should say, of Dodgeball, which was a rewatch for me. One of my friends hadn't seen it, so we watched it for the first time, and it's funny, because while we were watching, we were like, man, I wish we got more sequels to some of like the 2000s comedies, and then like 5 days later, they announced Dodgeball 2 is in the works with Vince Vaughn coming back to star, and I believe write some of the film, so very excited for that. This movie is just one of those like 2000s comedies you gotta see. It's not the funniest movie I've ever seen, but it will make you laugh out loud quite a few times. And then we follow that up with the movie Project X, which I'd never seen. I was like, oh, isn't that just a found footage party movie? Everyone had always talked about it in like middle school when it came out for me. So they were like, you gotta watch this movie. And it was only like an hour and 20 minutes when the credits rolled, so it was not that bad. We started the movie like super late, like damn near midnight too, and I enjoyed it. It was just chaos from start to finish. It had some just insane things that I never thought I would see. I mean, it really just got out of hand near the end of the movie with the craziness that went down in this party. But it was entertaining, you know? I didn't, like, love the movie by any means, like a 3 out of 5. I was entertained. It had made me laugh. Just seeing this chaos with a really dope soundtrack, I was like, this is weirdly entertaining. In terms of overall movie, it's nothing special. It's not one you have to watch. But for a movie to watch at midnight when you're hanging out with your friends, it's kind of a vibe in a weird way. Then I took a few days off, and on April 25th, I began my preparations for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 by rewatching Guardians 1, which is an all-timer for the MCU. I mean, it's, I think, my 6th or 7th favorite. Stay tuned for my ranking coming later this week. Then I rewatched Guardians 2, which I have had a full 180 on. When I first saw this movie in theaters opening day 2017, I was like, that's really, really good. Like, it might be my top 10 MCU movies. And then I hadn't watched it for a while. I probably watched it twice since theaters. Probably hadn't seen the movie in 5 to 6 years. It had been a long time. This rewatch was eye-opening. I had kind of fallen in the trap of listening to all these other negative reviews online and being like, oh, maybe I don't like it. I kind of twisted my own views of Guardians 2 to convince myself that I actually didn't like the movie. This rewatch was so reassuring that I actually do love this film, because I've always loved the characters. This rewatch really solidified it as a damn great movie. Kurt Russell as Ego, fantastic villain. You just love to hate the guy. And there's a lot of great reveals there. The third act is awesome with the action, but also the true emotional weight it carries. I mean, my heart was shattered at the end of this movie, and I never fail to tear up when Yondu dies. Spoilers, but you've probably seen it. The soundtrack arguably is better than the soundtrack of the first movie, and all around, it's just got everything I love about the Guardians. Even a strong sisterhood story with Nebula and Gamora. So I really had a new appreciation for this movie. Stay tuned again for my MCU ranking. You'll be pleasantly surprised if you're a fan of this movie how much higher it is on my list than the one I did back in February. But then I rewatched Infinity War and Endgame on the 25th and 26th of April. The MCU's never gonna reach that height again. I'll just come out and say it. I got the posters on my wall right over there for both films. That's my 1-2 punch. That's not going anywhere for a long time. I don't think it's ever gonna get topped. It's just a crowning achievement for the MCU, and these movies are so special to me. I just adore them, and it's the perfect conclusion to phases 1 through 3. I'll always cherish Infinity War and Endgame, and I'll never get sick of rewatching those. Of course, the main reason for this rewatch is because the Guardians have a fairly prominent role in these films, notably in Infinity War, but a lot of the Gamora stuff is important here, especially in Guardians 3, which is the next movie that I watched. But first, I have to mention the Guardians Holiday Special, which I did throw on. It's just a sweet little 40-minute thing that has some important details that play into Guardians 3. If you haven't, you know, watched the Holiday Special before Guardians 3, I do recommend it. It's only like 40 minutes. But the last movie I watched in the month of April was, in fact, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 at an early press screening. I have a full review on the channel right now. I won't get into spoilers at all. I'll have a full spoiler review later this week, the day the movie comes out. But I adore it. I really do. This movie's special. It is hilarious at times. It is action-packed, and I think it features one of the best, if not the best, action scene in terms of the way it's shot and the way it plays out that I've ever seen in the MCU. I mean, it really has stuck with me. I've been listening to the soundtrack in my car lately since watching the film and reminiscing on some of my favorite moments. It really struck a chord with me. Like, this emotionally packs such a powerful punch. I've praised this movie a lot already. I think it's a perfect send-off to these characters, and I'm not going to say too much because I'll have a lot more to say about Guardians 3 the rest of this week, but I adore this movie. It's fairly high on my MCU ranking. So those are all the movies that I watched in the month of April. As for TV show, I started my Stranger Things rewatch. It's my favorite show of all time, and I watched season 1 all the way through, season 2 all the way through, and I started season 3 right before we got into May, so I'll finish out season 3 and 4 this month and probably talk about those at the end of this month. But Stranger Things season 1 is probably the season of TV I've seen the most. I remember watching it constantly leading up to season 2. I probably watched it 3 times before season 2 came out, and it's the season that I always start with. So if I ever start a rewatch and fall off, I get through season 1 and then I'm like, oh, I just get busy or fall off with it for whatever reason. Season 1 I've seen countless times. It stands alone as its own little mini-series. It's perfection. Season 2 is still great. Even though it is my technical least favorite season of the 4, I still love this season, and it has some of the best moments. I mean, if you take out episode 7, The Lost Sister, the episode 6 and then 8, 9, like the 1, 2, 3 punch of those episodes, some of the best content in all of Stranger Things, I would argue. Of course, The Mandalorian season 3 came to an end in the month of April, so I watched episodes 6, 7, and 8, and I'll just say this, I know I've said it on live streams and in recent videos, this is by far the weakest season of the show. In the end, it felt unnecessary. It was lackluster compared to last season. Episode 6 was bad. I mean, the final fight with Bo-Katan and the other Mandalorians looked like something out of a fan film. Like, it was bad. I know a lot of people have said that, but I literally, as I was watching it before I saw interviews, I literally said this looks like a fan film, which, if everyone's saying it, it's probably true. Episode 7 had a great ending. You know, Moff Gideon showing up was awesome to finally see him. And then episode 8, it was cool at times with action, but it was fine. Like, it was okay. I didn't hate my time with The Mandalorian season 3, but seasons 1 and 2 were great TV, and this was such a big step down in quality that I don't know if the show needs to continue. At this point, it just feels like the characters are hanging around until this Mandoverse movie with Dave Filoni. I don't know what the plan is, but The Mandalorian season 3, not something I see myself watching again. It's unfortunate because, like, the Boba Fett show did the same thing, but it had some great moments with Mando, and then this just kind of fell flat. fizzled out. As for comedy shows, Ted Lasso has been a hit for me this year. We're through episode 7, I believe now, so I've watched season 3, episode 4, 5, 6, and 7 in the month of April. Episode 6 is probably my favorite. We got some great Jamie and Roy Kent moments, like one in particular, I was laughing my ass off. It's very funny. Every week, a new episode of this show puts a smile on my face. I'm not sure how this season compares to the other two. It seems a little all over the place and less focused, but by the end, I always have a smile on my face. There's just this formula they have down where I just feel so happy and heartwarmed by the end of each episode. So Ted Lasso is like weekly therapy in a way. And of course, Barry season 4, the final season of Barry, started in April. I've only seen the first 2 episodes. I am gonna watch the next 2 today, actually, the day I'm filming this. It started with a bang, and I heard these next 2 episodes are damn great. If this season sticks the landing, which it's on track to do right now, it will go down as one of the best TV series ever. 4 seasons with no misses and some wild moments. I can't complain. Bill Hader continues to impress too. In the first or second episode, he has this one moment where he's like staring at himself in the mirror, slapping himself. It was insanely good acting. But yeah, those are all the movies and TV shows that I watched in the month of April. I'm sure I forgot to mention some stuff that I rewatched in terms of television, but it is what it is. Again, let me know in the comments down below your favorite movie and show that you watched this past month. What are you looking forward to in the month of May? It's pretty loaded in terms of movies and shows. But thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to help me reach my goal of 75,000 subscribers here on the channel. It would mean a lot. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.